The relentless march of the cupcake continues to sweep all before it. There is no shortage of cake shops in British towns and cities, but there is a shortage of cakes within them. Windows bedecked with fake flowers frame rows of little pucks of sponge, each sinking under a mini mountain of sugary buttercream. If you want a grown-up cake for a special occasion, you will almost certainly have to choose from minor variants on the American layer cake, slabs of sponge in a cylindrical tower, thickly encased in yet more buttercream. There's cake in there somewhere, but you have to excavate it from beneath slabs of fat and sugar. It's not true that invention is dead in the cake kitchen, but the delicate triumphs of the pâtissier's art can usually only be found in miniature form at the smartest of hotels, sharing tiered plates with finger sandwiches, the crusts inevitably removed, scones, jam, and clotted cream, with a glass of bubbly winking nearby. This will cost around £75 per person. Now, this is not a crisis. The cake is not in danger. It's more a state of confusion in which we are so surrounded by variations on the theme that we've lost track of where the originals came from and what, if anything, they signify. I found myself one day in an upmarket and trendy cake shop surrounded by huge pastel-hued slabs and thinking, how did we get here? And as soon as I started to think hard about my favourite cakes, the subject unfurled in front of me like a vast tablecloth spread for a gargantuan tea party. So many cakes. So many stories. As I thought of my favourites, I wanted to know more about them. How, when, and where did they come into being? Why did they include certain ingredients? How did they come by their names? And I realized I had a major project to pursue, an enticing prospect, but one that threatened to spiral rapidly out of control unless I set some boundaries. I have a family and responsibilities, so I couldn't simply pop some indigestion tablets into a rucksack and set off to sample every cake in the world. It made a lot more sense to restrict myself to cakes that have established a place in British life, acknowledging happily and immediately that in cake, as in so much else, this country has always assimilated delicious ideas and ingredients from far afield. Not every cake in this book is purely British. That would be a ridiculous and unenforceable restriction. But one of my criteria is that the cakes I feature should be well established in the affections of British eaters. Another characteristic that I wanted to pursue was the stories behind the cakes I chose. So I was looking for cakes with a tale of their own, with some kind of cultural significance and a distinctive character. Cakes whose history I could get my teeth into. And as the project took shape, I realized that simply looking things up and then eating them was not going to suffice. I needed to eat those cakes in the right circumstances. It's easy enough to send out for cake, or practically any other foodstuff, and I could have assembled the edible elements of this book at home within a couple of days at most, but that would be lazy, gluttonous, self-indulgent, and dull. How much more interesting it would be, I thought, to set myself a kind of quest, not only to draw up a list of the cakes that the people of these islands cherish, but to investigate their stories, and then, by way of a challenge, to try to eat a chunk of each, as it were, the true slice, in a place appropriate to its story. It's a kind of culinary version of psychogeography, a way of writing about people, places, and things that grew out of the work of radical thinkers, artists, and writers in France in the 1950s, and was developed in literary form in Britain by Peter Ackroyd, and in particular the London walker and writer Ian Sinclair. In very simple terms, psychogeography suggests that places, landscapes, buildings, the underlying territory, shape the behavior of the people who pass through them. If you've ever come across the stone monuments of a bygone age on a lonely